Hello everyone. Let us begin with a poetic expression from the Sufi tradition about the truth of our own being when fully unveiled. You're not a drop in the ocean, you're the ocean in a drop. Let's try to fully appreciate the meaning of these words. We sometimes wonder, how does all this world of profusion and variety fit together? How do the unique features of every person and creature coexist in their reality, where nothing is really separate? How does my individual existence relate to the being in all? And in answer, we often resort to analogies. One of the most familiar of analogies is the vision of reality as comparable to an ocean in which all the apparent individualities are waves. In this view, the ocean is nothing but water, and the waves are nothing but water. But how can it be said that the entire ocean is contained in a single drop? The answer is that what we really are is not contained or defined by space and time at all. The true self is not finite in any sense or dimension. Our being appears to be individualized, as if contained in a drop. But only being is absolutely real. The individualization is just appearance. Now, how can we realize our true being directly and be free of all apparent limitations and suffering? How? Infinity and immortality, friends, are not to be found in the body and mind. Body and mind will surely pass, like all things in the world. It is consciousness that is ultimately free and immortal. Consciousness is never limited by anything there is consciousness of. Your true self is pure consciousness, and the ultimate reality in all, what has been called that, God, Brahman, Supreme, the Absolute, is pure consciousness. Self and that are identical. Going back to our opening analogy, we might say, you are not a drop of consciousness in an ocean of consciousness. You are the ocean of consciousness in which drops of consciousness seem to appear. At this point, a challenge arises to the idea that consciousness is universal. We may say, it's true that the more I take up the position of the witness of my mind and do not get caught up in the mind, the more freedom and expansion I feel. But still, I'm conscious of how everything appears to me, and I'm directly aware of my mind, which is my own inner private world. Equally, I do not know how things appear from another's point of view, and nor can I see what is happening in other minds. So my conscious awareness seems to be limited and to be separated from the consciousness of others. In this way, I am still isolated. I understand in theory that reality is an ocean of consciousness, but my direct experience is still limited to the range and contents of a drop in the ocean. If this is our experience just now, friends, what is the way forward? When we ask ourselves, what is consciousness? We try to look within for an answer. What we find is our experience of what it is like to be conscious. So our understanding of consciousness is still limited by what it feels like for us to be conscious, which usually takes consciousness to be a property of the mind. So we are still confusing consciousness with what there is consciousness of, the feelings and appearances. Let's use another analogy. When sunlight illumines a particle of dust floating in the air, the dust particle seems to shine. When we think of consciousness as what it feels like in our mind to be conscious, it is like thinking that the shining dust particle is the shining sun. And yet, the light shining from the dust particle and the light of the sun are both light and only appear as distinct when reflected in something else. The same is true of absolute consciousness. Consciousness is being, and being is consciousness, in which appearances appear as real to the unillumined mind. So long as we are not awake to the true nature of consciousness, we can contemplate consciousness as the light that reveals the world of appearances. But ultimately, consciousness is to be realized as free from any limitation or connection of any kind. How are we to discover this in direct experience? How? The way is to let the power of this truth rearrange our values. We cultivate our awareness that the ever-changing forms we are conscious of are different from the consciousness that reveals them. As regards any experience, we should ask, does it change? If it changes, we know it cannot be the ultimate consciousness, what we are in truth. In practice, this means learning to still our mind in one-pointed meditation and through careful inner inquiry to withdraw our sense of identity, the feeling I am, from the mind and the body to the consciousness that reveals them. Let's explore this together now. For a moment, just observe your physical body. Look at your hands and the wrist, and see them as aspects of the material world. We know that the body is formed of the food we eat, drawn from the physical world around us, and to which it all returns sooner or later. Like objects close by, we can move the body or keep it still. Look on your body as an instrument that can be used well or not so well. Notice that the more detached you are from your body, the more wisely you treat it. Be clear that this bodily instrument is quite different from you, who are the one who observes it and supervises its movements. The body is a construct of bones, flesh, and other tissues. See how unlike that is from you, the conscious awareness, which is non-material, unchanging, and self-luminous. Now, be aware of your body from within. Notice the sensations of life in the body. Feel the breath being drawn in and out, and the need each breath relieves. Feel the warmth of your body. These sensations are familiar, but notice that however close they seem, they are not you. For each of us, they are not what I am. Our breath belongs to the sphere of nature that includes the air, the plants, and clouds. What we experience as warmth in the body is generated by processes happening everywhere in nature and in all living creatures. Everywhere, energy sustains growth, and transformations produce energy. And what we are aware of in the body is no more ourself than the changing forms we observe all around us. Sometimes, to focus the attention on the breath or on a point within the body is an effective way of calming the mind. To be aware of the body as a living instrument may be better than being lost in scattered thoughts. Yet this benefit stems from distinguishing between the bodily sensations and the awareness of them. The body's internal condition changes from moment to moment, but the awareness of change is constant and not bound by biological processes. The limitations of these bodily processes do not belong to our conscious self. So, be aware of the life of the body from within, the breath, the warmth, and see how its changes do not affect yourself, the conscious awareness. Now, let's turn our attention to another, more subtle and inward phase of our experience. Observe your mind. Notice the pictures, sounds, and words passing through it. It is at this level of our mind that everything we see and hear and touch through the senses is combined with memories and imaginations to produce our experience of the world with our individuality at the center. This is how we usually experience what is me and mine. For seekers of liberation and illumination, it is where we meet a most significant challenge or an opportunity. It is here that we have the experience, I am this separated individual who enjoys and suffers in many ways. At this level, our compelling experience is that I am here, surrounded by these objects. We feel the world is as real as my body and my mind is as real as the world. Oh, Friends, we feel the world is as real as my body, and my body is as real as the world. This is what I am, and what I see around me is reality. As inner inquirers, we have understood that this is not what we are at the deepest level, and that this idea of being the busy mind needs to be transcended. The individual me is part of the picture produced by the mind. We know that the picture is not the same as the reality, and this me is not the true self. So let us stand back and see this in its right perspective. Just watch the whole show passing through the mind. Notice that your body is an object like others in the world. It is clear that the objects are not the conscious self that we are in truth. And in the same way, our thoughts and feelings about them are not what we are. The likes and dislikes are not what we are. Watch all this passing through the mind and withdraw the sense of identity from it. Be the witness, the conscious awareness, unbound by all these limitations. As we know, the mind is complex and many-layered. As we become more aware of the pictures and words and moods, we're moving to another level of the mind. There is more stillness and clarity at this level, and this is where our higher faculties of will and intuition become operative. From here, it is clear that thoughts and impulses are movements in the mind and not our real nature. Now our intuition is that we are conscious beings who can rise above these movements and be in the light that reveals them. Our understanding of the world around us is also deeper now. We are more aware that on the surface everything seems to be separate, but underlying them are deeper causes where everything is connected. But let us remember that this is not the end of the path. This intuitive level of our mind, contrary to its ultimate purpose, can still give us a compelling sense that we are something finite. And we may need extra care to notice this limiting effect, because it is more subtle. You may be fully aware that you are a thoughtful human being striving to rise above mental limitations. In fact, this is true of your refined mind, but this refined mind is not your ultimate nature. Your true being has nothing to do with strivings for new light and freedom, as it is never bound by any conditions or limitations. For a moment now, inwardly step back from the mind. Calmly observe any sense of I am related to any feeling or image. Be the witness. Be the witness of all experience, identify with the witness. Now, let go even of the idea of being the witness. There is nothing separate to witness. There is only I. Self-realization is eternal. It is not really brought about through practices or learning to think in a certain way. Practices serve to remove the apparent veils. What we are seeking has never been lost. Being self, it is already established as our deepest center, ever achieved, ever attained. With trust and one-pointedness, the effort of contemplation becomes effortless effort. The liberating idea is, with effortless effort, I am awake to my true nature. Let us rest in this thought for a few moments. With effortless effort, I am awake to my true nature. Friends, this journey of discovery is a letting go and also a holding on to the wisest and most helpful expressions that have ever been given. Never feel inhibited from giving the mind something to hold on to, based on this highest wisdom. Because the more the mind is consciously focused in its right place, the more the light can shine through. Now, for a few minutes, let us let go and hold on with these meditation practices. Breathe consciously. Breathe consciously. Feel the breath passing in and out. As you breathe in, hear the words, I am. As you breathe out, hear the word, light. Hold on to these firm supports, your breath and I am light. conscious breathing. I am light. I am light. Now, let's meditate on this text. One ocean of consciousness exists, infinite, all light, all bliss. That am I. Focus your attention on these words. How? Through calmly repeating them and allowing their meaning to penetrate your meaning. Their meaning. Friends, so how are we going to do this? Calmly repeat the text and allow the meaning to penetrate your being. One ocean of consciousness exists, infinite, all light, all bliss. That am I. One ocean of consciousness exists, infinite, all light, all bliss. That am I. Infinite, all light, all bliss. That am I. one ocean of consciousness, infinite, all light, all bliss, that am I. If you make a special time each day to devote to meditation, you will be making the best possible investment. In the light of the non-dual teachings, every moment of every day presents opportunities to remember and affirm that all forms change and pass away. Lasting fulfillment is to be found only in conscious being and being conscious. Friends, one last word. In your seeking and living, you will avoid much trouble if you try to free yourself from the agitation of any desire to be admired. If you have any wish in regard to your effect on others, let it be that your company somehow leaves others more aware of what is truly admirable in their own being. Thank you.